obviously we were doing well with Cork City, and I was playing well, and everybody was playing well, so it was great.
Yeah.
And then some clubs started to come to watch my games and stuff. So kind of eventually it was either Brighton or Hull. So I went over to see Brighton. It was lovely. But the manager was Sammy Hupia, and he never called me in and said, "Oh, this is why we're signing you. I want you to do this, this, and this." It just didn't happen. Whereas when I went to Hull, I met Steve Bruce, and he was talking to me and saying they really want me to sign, and kind of.
So was that personal connection?
Exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what kind of made my decision for me.
They were Premier League at the
They
time
were,
as well.
yeah, Premier League. So I started in training with them, and I was doing quite well. I think Ireland had like a short Seamus Coleman and a couple other players that were injured, so I got called up to the senior team.
What was it like training with the Irish team?
Unbelievable. It was
Was it?
weird. Like players like Robbie Keane, Shane Long, Roy Keane, obviously being there, Martin O'Neill. Because a few months earlier I was playing against Bray away or whatever, and now I was up with the Irish team. So that was a great week.
Does Roy Keane, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want that, does he treat the Cork fellas better than the rest?
I'd say he does. I think that's in his nature.
Yeah, I think so.
He loves people from Cork,
Yeah.
especially the north side.
Yeah. He's welcome on the podcast, by the way.
I always looked up to Roy Keane as a
Oh.
player. He was always I was a very, very similar player to him. You know, tough, really, really passionate about the game. You could probably see it in my face. You know, but I just love. He's my favorite. There we go. Ron has this jersey on.
Yeah.
But he was my most favourite player in the Premiership.
Yeah.
You know, ever, I'd say. And I just loved watching him. Not just because he was from Cork, it's because he really, the fans loved him. He was a tough player. He always done the right thing, and he was always there. And he threw a few F's as well at the other fucking players that were just pussyfooting
That
around.
one,
you know?
him and Vieira in the tunnel. That's brilliant. That wouldn't happen today. They'd both be sent off.
I know.
And banned, I'd say.
Yeah.
But you know, when he was at his peak as well, you know, he was playing in the Champions, a great United team now as well, like he was the leader, but playing against the likes of Zidane and Rivaldo, Luis Figo, Ronaldo and Keane, like, you know, he'd be man of the match in
He'd
games
still
like
stand
that. Like,
out. Yeah.
And he's from Mayfield, and it was like, Jesus Christ. Do you know what I mean? We can all be fucking, it's all there for us too. He's only from, you know, he's from the same city as us, you know.
You'd have to love the other side of him as well, even the commentating at the moment.
Brilliant.
He is straight out there.
It's cutthroat.
He'll tell you how
That's
it
what
is,
people need.
You know?
That's why everyone's delighted with him on Sky, is because he's so brutally honest.
Yeah.
And no one can question him, because if someone questions him, is it, I've got 7 Premier League titles, I have a Champions League, I have 4 FA Cups, I have this, I have that. Who are you to question me?
Yeah. Whereas it, like, you know, sometimes, and I like Richie Sadlier on RT. I like Richie Sadlier, but sometimes he gets trolled online. He gets a bit of hate online because his career was cut short through injuries, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he makes very valid points. But some people throw it in his face, you know. But you know what, Roy Keane, doesn't matter what he says. He's been there, done it. He was in the best team in the world. He was one of the best midfielders in Premier League history. So everything he says with authority because he can, you know.
Exactly.
And it's great then because half the other fellas on Sky Sports are afraid of him.
Yeah, they are actually. I'd say the half of them are terrified in case he goes off on one, you know.
But look, we digress a small bit. So you went off to Hull. What was it like? Was it a big step up from League of Ireland?
It was, to be honest. Like, the training was a lot quicker. You know, people who know or play football know what boxes are. So basically you're around in kind of a circle or whatever, and there's 2 people in the middle and you have to keep the ball away from them. I was terrible. Like, I thought I was good at Cork City, which I was, but went to Hull then, it was just just really difficult. But eventually I settled in and went on loan to Blackpool, played 2 games for them and got injured for the first time. I injured my knee. So then I came back to Hull and I was out for about a year.
What kind of an injury did you get?
My patella tendon.
Okay. That's behind the kneecap.
Yeah. So then I got back fit from that, started playing a lot of games with the under-23s, and then I made my debut for Hull against Bolton in the Championship. And then 2 days after that I played in the under-21 Premier League Cup final against West Ham. And I injured my knee in the first half, but I didn't really know it was injured.
Same knee?
Same knee. So I played all of the game, played extra time and took a penalty, all with my knee in pieces. But I didn't notice.
Adrenaline was keeping you.
The next morning I woke up, my knee was about that size. So I went into training. Just after making my debut, things were going to go well. And then bang, this happened. So it's kind of another big thing to deal with.
Do you know, like when you're 20, 21 and you're over in England with Hull, and then you're out for a year, like I'd say it's very frustrating, isolating.
So isolating. Obviously the physios are brilliant and they're well trained not only to treat you physically but manage you mentally as well.
Yeah.
And lots of people tried with me, but my mental health was fairly bad. Like,
Do you know, for the first injury, was
yeah.
it bad for that as well?
No. The first injury was like, look, this is just after happening. It can happen to anyone. I'll get back stronger, which it did. Then it happened again, 2 days after making my debut.
And you know what's ahead then again, like.
It was kind of got back fit from that injury then, and we were relegated to the championship. So I was like, this is my year. I'm going to play. So I played every single pre-season game, and then before we played Aston Villa, the manager dropped me. For what reason, I don't know, but
Was it Steve Bruce at the time?
no, the Russian manager.
Oh, okay. Check who that manager was, right?
Leonid Slutsky.
Oh yeah. So he was at CSKA Moscow for years, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he didn't like me, and I didn't particularly like him either. It was kind of after that my mental health kind of deteriorated, and I was contemplating suicide. And
Were you on your own over there?
no, Bailey was living with me at this point. So
I'd say it was tough for her too.
Oh, so hard. What I put her through was just criminal, and my family as well.
But you know that wasn't your fault then as well. Like, do you know, like, yeah, I done the same stuff to my own wife and my own family, like my own mental health. You know, we act in ways that we don't understand. You know,
You're not thinking rationally, like. You know?
I think I have a lot more understanding of it now
Yeah.
since the help I got since I came back to Cork. I'm in St Finbarr's Hospital, and I've a key worker, I've a nurse, doctor, psychiatrist, social worker, all helping me to get where I need to be. Because what my GP said to me, I just went into him and I said, I can't understand why I can't be normal. He said to me, he was like, when what happened, there was a fire in your brain. Like, that fire is out, but the earth is still scorched. I thought that was a really apt way of putting it for him.
That's a brilliant way
for me to understand.
Yeah, that's unbelievable way to put it.
Yeah.
But once you've scorched earth, you can get fertile earth over.
Exactly. It'll come in.
Go stronger.
Farmers burn fields to create.
Yeah.
So he put it like that to me, and I kind of went, wow, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
There's no fire, but there's damage.
And it's not completely destroyed, like.
No,
There's a way back. Do you know when the second knee injury happened, was the exact same injury?
No, it wasn't. The second injury, I tore my condyle surface, which is like a cartilage. It's really, really delicate. So it like tears up, and they just go in and snip it and clean it up. But it doesn't actually regenerate or fix itself. So I still have trouble with my knee now on a daily basis, but I'm not training or playing or anything, so it's not too bad.
Do you know when the second injury happened to you? Did you make were you out for a long time again?
9 months this time.
Was that a career ending?
No, neither of them were career ending. They're just career.
They affected your mental health?
Exactly, affected my mental health, affected my progress as a player.
Yeah.
Because like when I went there, when I was 19, when I was doing well, I was the good young player. But by the time I got back, there was good young players 2-3 years younger than me. So I was never really in the picture to play.
So probably your best developmental years you probably missed, you know, in the couple of years where like you would have really grown your game, do you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know the second injury then, that's when mental health kind of went downhill?
After that, I was kind of went down, and then I got back fit and I was playing well, so I was happy. And I thought I was going to play. And then that new manager came in and played me for every pre-season game, and then just chucked me to the side. So.
And what happened then? Were you stuck in the reserves or?
No, I wasn't even playing with the reserves. I was just training every day, but not playing.
Isn't it amazing how a relationship between a player and a manager can actually affect how a team plays? Like,
absolutely.
Like instead of just taking your relationship away from the situation from managers and just looking at the player as in he should be playing, he's one of the top, he's one of the 11, and just playing him instead of just being nasty about it. Do you know what? No, I don't like this fella here, or he's going on the bench.
It's true. It just shows as well how important man management is. You know, and like
leadership,
manage your players. Like a good few players that was at United, they said the best thing about Alex Ferguson wasn't the tactics or anything like that. It was he knew every player in the club. He knew their mother's name. He knew their grandmother's name. And even if you were dropped, he'd make you feel like fucking Hercules. Like Rooney said to him. Rooney said in a few interviews, like, if I wasn't playing and I was being rotated or rested or whatever, I'd still feel like I'm doing a big thing for the team because he'd have managed me. Do you know what I mean? But some managers don't do that well, and players can become isolated and fall out of love with the game. And I'd say you can easily fall out of love with the game when you're on the bench.
Just playing football daily because it's all you knew. In the flats complex, you would have a football after school. The first thing you want to do is play football. Last thing at night, you'd be getting dragged in. You still want to play football. You know what I mean?
We handy at the soccer.
I was. I can still kick a ball now.
Did you play for the team?
I played for St Anthony's as a schoolboy from about 10 to about 15, and we literally won everything. We good ballers. One of them up front was Christy Fagan. He ended up going to Manchester United. And then he ended up back with St Pat's and Bowes just only a few years ago, and he retired. He's actually doing a physio now at the moment. And my friend Glenn, who grew up with me in Henrietta Street, me and him we done everything together. He was on the left side, I was on the right side up front, get those up top. But yeah, we won everything through the schoolboys.
And schoolboys in Dublin is very competitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got Kevin's boys, St Joseph's boys, you've got Terry Orchard was the big team back in the day for
some
us.
good teams.
Wefta was another one.
Yeah, and then that team broke up then, and then we split up. Gitto went to Home Farm, and me and Glenn went up to Bowes. And yeah, Bowes was with a good squad, but Home Farm was just unbelievable. We bumped into Gitto in the league, and it was just like beating 3-4-0. They were top class boys. Like,
Do you know what we have? We have a problem here, and I say it's the same above in Dublin. Do you know a lot of our talented sports stars, like footballers or boxers and stuff, from 50 they go up as far as 14, 15, and it's just like it stops because of alcohol and drugs come into their lives, and they lose their motivation and inspiration to go on and get involved in the sport.
Talent is only half the battle. You know, when you have a lot of obstacles in your way,
you need that discipline, don't you?
You do, but you also need a bit of luck. And like if you're a talented soccer player and you're from Knocknaheeny, so that's where we're from, and you're a talented soccer player and you're from up where Spike lives, you know, with the big houses. But as an example, like, you know, you're less likely to be exposed to criminality, to drug use, to trauma and addiction and violence and all that stuff. But when you grow up in a state where you have the talent, you have all these distractions as well. You might be in a home where there's only your mum there and she's trying to look after 4 kids, or maybe your dad is in prison, or there's mental health issues in the home and stuff like that. So young people from certain areas have a lot more challenges than others.
1,000,000%. And what Timmy said before he finished the sentence, I knew what he was going to
say. Had someone in your head, like.
Absolutely, because I've been that, and I say that nowadays. You know what I mean? And especially through the boxing and through the football, you see it daily. When you know what I mean, kids coming through the best of talent, and then just within them 3 or 4 years, it goes pear-shaped for them. You're like, what happened there? You know what I mean? One guy off the top of my mind, I won't name him. I'll call him the Yank. That's his nickname as a boxer. He'll know. And he's won literally everything. Yeah, he went into like the senior championships at like 17, 18, and he was beating guys 25 and 6. Yeah, and he was just top of the range. Travelled all over the world with the Irish squad, boxed the best of Cubans, you name it. And when he went 22, 23, got caught up, went to a 21st party, got caught up on the coke, and one thing led to another. Now I still see him, he's 35, he's still yap all the time. He's tried to get back into it a number of times but couldn't. But like, if he'd have stayed on him and his career, he'd be so different. His life would be so different to what it is now. Like,
there was a couple of friends.
Unbelievable.
There was a couple of friends of ours from our area, Johnny Keneally, Stephen Manny,
good boxers.
They probably fought you back in the day, Spike. But they were very talented, and then they went down a bit of a different, tough path. They're good now today, thank God. Do you know what I mean? But you think, like, what could have been? I know Manny boxed for Ireland as well, like, so. You know,
even the soccer, even some fantastic
good at soccer as well. I know.
Like there's one young fella in particular there. Like he was about 13, 14, going over to some of the big clubs in not just England but also in Scotland. And,
Celtic.
you know, going away and getting stoned the night before, you're getting on a plane to go over and go on trials and stuff. And there was a lot of young lads as well who went over and they got homesick, you know, and
Came home.
they
So.
were gifted and they just came home and they just kind of lost interest in it because they knew that they couldn't be over there and fulfill what their dreams, you know, because their mammy, the Irish mammy, was back here. You know how that is like, and it's a terrible thing to see, isn't it?
It is, and what James says, sometimes you need that discipline. Like sometimes you see kids that probably aren't as talented as others, but they stay in it, and a couple of years later, they're actually doing very well, or they're doing. And you're like, Jesus, man, that fella was like twice the player he was, or twice the fighter he was, and he didn't make it. But the difference is that little bit of discipline, that little bit of being grounded and staying in the gym and doing your thing. Where the other fella, then, like you said, messing around beforehand, thinking I'll do it next week, and then before you know it, the years just go by. You know what I mean?
You had obstacles in your way as well, in terms of you started dabbling with the drugs and stuff in your teenage years. What was going on for you around that time, and how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I would have started boxing. I would have been brought down to the boxing gym by my father when I was 8 years of age. That was in like 98 or so. And I would have stayed boxing, and I would have had an amateur career of probably 80 or 90 fights up until I was 15 or 16. And then I was palling in the flats with the crowd, not wanting to go training. You know, I mean, my dad would be like, we're training at 6:30. I'd be like, yeah. I'd be shouting up the house, he'd be coming around looking for me, I'd be hiding around the block, I'd be hearing him shouting for me, I'd be like, tell him I'm not here to the lads, you know. Knowing I'm not going to go train, I'll go back at 9 o'clock, there'd be killings in the house, but you'd still do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as time went on, I drifted away from it a little bit. I started wanting to be one of the boys, and wanting to be in the flats, and wanting to be involved in everything. And it's just part of growing up as well, I suppose, you know what I mean? But yeah, we started messing around in the flats, we started drinking, probably smoking a bit of blow. Then one thing led to like sleeping pills. And there was a group, there's probably 30 in the flats, but there was a group of 4 or 5 that would take a few sleeping pills and a bit of blow and go off and do a bit of robbing and stroking, and came to the stage where we'd be out. I was like 17, 18, 19, we'd be out from early morning, out and about, just running through the streets,
It's mad what the
taking
tablets do.
stuff from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
public,
Do you know what the sleeping pills and the relaxers, what they do? You don't give a shit, you don't.
full of confidence.
You just do it, and like.
And
When you're young, when you're that young as well, there's something about that age where you haven't got a worry in the world and you can do whatever you want to do. You actually don't care about no one.
and
There's no fear.
everybody has the best intentions for you,
Yeah.
and the best advice, but you're like, I understand, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're
And
still
you
going to
just-
do what you want to do, aren't you?
You're taking tablets. You don't realise when in that you're so loud when you're on them, and you're full of confidence and all. It's only when you're a little bit sober the next day that you realise, jeez, that wasn't me. You know what I
Did
mean?
it cause trouble for you at home then?
Yeah, because like that, James, I would have had a great upbringing.
Yeah.
my dad provided us with everything. My ma was great. You know what I mean? Yeah, we would have had a great upbringing, but it was just I didn't want to listen. You know what I mean? Now I had a brother Clint who was in addiction. He's still in addiction. He's 43 now. He would have been on hard drugs, and that would have been in the family home. You know what I mean? So it's probably in hindsight that Clint was on it, because I knew the consequences then if I ever touched heroin or whatever it be. You know what I mean? Because later on I ended up in prison and stuff, and you'd see all that around you.
Yeah.
And I never went near that, thankfully. You know what I mean? Because I seen the damages it done to my brother and what was going on in the house. You know what I mean? But probably with him being on drugs, it probably took the eyes off me a little bit, as in the sense I was able to run that little bit freer and wilder, if that makes sense.
You bring up a good point there as well. Like, you don't always have to come from a broken home to end up in addiction. You know, some people like have 2 solid parents, a stable background, and they don't have the poverty and the mental health and stuff like that. But the child can still end up taking drugs and getting involved in stuff because they spend a lot of the time outside the home, especially when they come into their teenage years, you know, and hanging around the streets. And then when you're exposed to all that, and then it's like peer pressure and stuff.
That's a great point, because sometimes it might be just maybe that child lacks a bit of self-esteem or a bit of confidence, you know, or they just don't seem to fit in to a peer group, and peer group that they do fit into then are the lads, you know, and then in order to fit into that group you have to take this, you have to do that, you know, for the boys to respect you. And it's a tough period of life, you know. I remember even coming across ecstasy as a young child and what it done for me, the way it made me feel. it definitely helped me to cope with the issues that were going on in my own life back then, you know, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense today why somebody would use something to get through that part of a life. Like when we get older, people use prescribed meds to be able to cope with their mental health today. Back then,
There's none of that.
we use stuff like that as well, like to get
as
through.
well, you know, when young fellas drop out of school, you know, the boredom as well, and the monotony of getting up and not having nothing to do, the drugs, they kill the time as well.
Yeah.
What way was your school?
I was never great in school. I was so I would have left secondary school when I was 14 years of age. I remember because we joined the local FOSS up on Henrietta Street, and it'd be 15 to join there. And I remember they took me a week or two before my 15th birthday, so I would have fell out of school. I didn't know junior cert in school. I would have done 1 or 2 subjects. Within the FOSS place I was doing catering up there, so I was doing the chefing up there, and I was there till I was about 18 or 19. Probably 20. I still have a good relationship with some of the people up there, some of the workers. They come and support me in my fights and that nowadays. But yeah, I was there for a number of years. So no, school wasn't something for me. And even when I was in school, I was always suspended or sitting outside on my own or from not being involved in the class. And there was a group. You actually had one of them on your podcast, Paddy Higgins.
Oh, Paddy, yeah.
So I listened to Paddy's joke. It was great to hear. About him. I play football now and again with his brother, and I always ask how he is. So
You nice
Paddy,
fella, indeed.
gentleman,
Great
Paddy's
singer
sound
as well.
great on the guitar, wasn't he?
Brilliant singer. Yeah. We got so many requests from people looking to buy his CD, but he doesn't have a CD to sell. But when he gets out, maybe he will. And you know, when he came on the podcast, Christy Moore wrote him a letter and sent it to him.
Serious, yeah.
You can imagine
Amazing,
the
man.
boost that would have given
Brilliant.
him.
Super, lads. Let's tell you.
Great raspy voice.
Yeah. Because obviously, I listened to his podcast. I listened to a good few of them, and I see Paddy's name. I was like, Paddy. And I listened to it, like, fucking deadly, you know what I mean? But Paddy would have been in my class, and there would have been like out 20, 25, so there would have been 4 or 5 of us that'd be all together. And that just got me thinking as well, because there's Paddy, who's in prison, there's me, who I'm doing okay now, but one of the guys died in a car crash from a robbed car, and then the other one or two was doing okay, thankfully. But yeah, probably from not putting the head down through school, probably led me to be a bit wild then on the streets then as well, you know what I mean?
You ended up in St. Patrick's.
Yeah, so when I wasn't going boxing, I was out, as I said, running the muck. We were getting involved in crime, robbing, stealing, and we were getting charge sheets, and eventually I ended up in St. Patrick's. I was about 16 or 17. I ended up there twice, one for 4 months, one for 6 months. And then I got my last prison sentence. I ended up in Mountjoy when I was 20.
It was Celtic or Cork.
When I grew up, it was Hibs and Celtic, but there was 2 teams, and it was brilliant. It was outstanding, you know. My brother-in-law, mine, he's down with him, Buckley. He was bringing me to the games, you know. 1 week you go to the Cross, and the next week you go to, you know. I was a Celtic supporter, so you go to Hibs the following week, hoping they'd lose, like, you know. But brilliant teams, like, you know. I got a break because just around the corner, like there was 3. There was like the famous Maya Denny. Was around the corner. Johnny Finnegan was a brilliant player for you know. He played with Hibs, and Johnny Miles, he's no a manager of mine. He played with Celtic. You know, he was involved with Celtic when they won the league in '74. Like a hanky would cover the 3 of them. You know what I mean? So like I could be going to school, and Johnny Finnegan would be, and he's cold. He was a cold man, and he'd be striking the ball up and down with his brother. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it. You know, you're looking at him in front of maybe 20,000 down the Flower Lodge.
The Dennehy's are a great soccer family too, weren't they? Didn't he get a hat-trick in a FA Cup final?
He was the first man to get a hat-trick.
I think his brother then got 9 goals in an AOL game. That was another first.
No, I think it wasn't Moyes. It was his first cousins, the Natties. They'd be more, you know what I mean? But they're steeped in football. They all played. I think Grattan, there was 6 or 7 of them on the team, and they played, you know, but all very good players, you know what I mean?
But my dad and my uncles would be big League of Ireland fans, but they tell me stories about Flower Lodge back in the day, and thousands at it for finals.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Where was
Parky Ring?
It's Parky Ring now.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
And like the crowds would be 20,000
like,
a game.
You know, the famous games would play up Waterford, and actually great Cal Humphrey scored a goal for, you know, Cockman scored for Waterford that day. Hibs were 2 up. the story goes that the cop directors went out for champagne. There was only 10 minutes left to go to up, and he came back in and Waterford after winning 3-2. You know, Cal, you know, the great Cal Humphreys scored one of the goals for Waterford. But there was 25,000 people at it, you know what I mean? It was, you know.
How did GAA end up with Parky Ring then? Do you know the story behind that?
I do, but right, you know, I don't. It's too.
Yeah,
it's a pity that it was ever lost to. That's another story, now, James. And
another podcast, maybe.
You don't want to be sold.
Yeah,
we'll move on swiftly. So after schoolboys or your youth days, what happened after that? Where did you go?
You have to backtrack a bit because because at the end of when I was 16, I went off to Bolton, you know, which was rare at the time for a fella to go to England, you know. Yeah. And I'm just lucky enough to go up, but because I was never coached properly, or you know, I was never much out of the area with my friends and things like that. And going to England is obviously a big huge step, but back then we hadn't even a phone at home, you know, you know what I mean? It's not like now, like...
You didn't have WhatsApp.
So I might as well have been in the middle of Africa. You know what I mean? Because there was no contact. I was 16, never over ground, and I was over there, and I just swore, I can't be doing this, like, you know. Yeah. So I lasted 2 weeks, and I came back, and I swore I'd never go back to England again. And I actually packed up football then, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. In my head, I was gone. I loved the game. I loved playing the game in local and things like that. But to be, you know, like we all did growing up, we wanted to be footballers. But I actually didn't want to be a footballer after that. Like,
you associated being good at football with going to England, and you didn't like the idea.
Well, that's what it was, you know. You know, like everybody wanted you know, to do. Everyone wanted to go and play in England, you know.
Sure, we had Gearoid Morrissey here a few weeks ago, and very similar experience, went over at 16 and was just very homesick and fell out of love with the game, you know, and came home, and you know, it's not easy for young lads.
To be fair to Gearoid, you know, to be fair, when he came back into the club then, you know, and he done well, he got to move back over. Yeah. That shows a lot, that a mental strength out of him, you know, that he done that, you know, and at least he gave it a go. And it was brilliant, you know what I mean? Yeah. I have great respect for lads like that, you know. Brian Lenihan, you had Brian and I watched the podcast, and he opened up in the podcast, and he said, he was talking about the football career, you mentioned football, and he said, yeah, my failed football career. And, you know, I was saying to myself,
he achieved more than 99% of fellas.
Jesus Christ almighty. How many fellas would love to be in a position, you know what I mean? Like, he was so unfair on himself, you know, great lad. I see him playing, outstanding lad, you know what I mean? And I just felt sorry for him that he thought that way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know, I hope, you know, wish him well in the rest of it. But, like, he was outstanding, you know what I mean? It was fair from him. He done a lot more than I ever did, I tell you, you know what I mean?
And 99% of fellas, you know what I mean? Like cap for his country and playing Premier League.
You know, like, he was, you know, being behashing himself, I thought, you know what I mean? Yeah. And, you know,
sounds like a really tough environment for an Irish lad to go over to England.
Yeah, but it is, like, you know, because, like, I got the RA stuff and all that was going at the time, you know, in Bolton, you know, 16 years of age, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But that was part and parcel of, you know, trying to get, you know what I mean? It was dog eat dog. I didn't know that. I was a young fella. You know, the bank of fellas getting natch and things like that. You know, but you, like, as you get older, you'll have to live with these things. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's helping a young lad, never been out there.
Teenager, like.
You see, you know what I mean? So, it's later on, didn't it? You know, it's things like that happen in dressing rooms and things like that, you know. But it's harsh on young lads, like, you know. You know.
And you know, when you came home and you packed it in for a while?
I did. I didn't pack in football. Because I loved the game. Yeah. I loved the game. I played, Shannonville broke up. I had no job. Club called Central Rovers above in the...
Central, yeah.
Central. Manager called Phillies England, he was shop short and say Brooks and Hortons. And half the team were working in Brooks and Hortons.
That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, you get your job if you play. Like, you know what I mean? So... I joined no club anyway such, you know what I mean? So I didn't care, you know what I mean? And I know some of the lads, like, so And we like again, very successful for junior. You know, we were only young lads. You know, and we famously, I suppose, we won the Irish Cup, was big at the time.
Yeah.
Like we were kids, you know.
That's
like,
the biggest trophy in junior soccer.
It is really. Back then, it was, you know what I mean. And we had beaten. Like, we were only a first division team, but we had beaten, I think, 3 Premier. You know, the top, and one of them was Temple, and it was the greatest kick.
Because they're right next to each other as well. Like.
Well, we drank in the same barrels.
Yeah,
you know. But they all
you could throw a stone from Central to Temple, like.
Yeah, but like but Central Rovers didn't play up there at the time.
Where
we played in a place out beyond a place called Grenade, up beyond Blair.
Yeah.
That's where Central Rovers pitch at the time was.
Okay, yeah.
But we all drank in the same bar.
Yeah.
And they were the superstars, and we were the upstarts. And we beat them one at the quarter-final Lairds Cup. But like I remember, like, it's a great story because my own brother, he was hanging on with one of the Temple mentors, Noel Hartnett. And I remember Frankie Thorpe, brilliant player. He clattered me anyway, you know, when he was out me. I mean, bro, get up, you clown. He was... He went to Temple to win, you know. He was over there, like, you know. I tell you now, you know, funny thing. God. Great, like, you know. We fall out over there. But I just, you know, funny things like that. Like, get up, you clown, he said. Right, fair enough. But we beat him anyway. But, like, it turned out we had very good players. It turned out to be, you know, that we had good players, you know what I mean. But at the time, we were only kids. Yeah. And that fizzled out in. And Cassaville, because I always had enough, you know, with Cassaville, because... But one season, then I went League of Ireland, no money. So,
what was it like moving from junior to...
I don't know. it was, because I remember he came up to the door and I actually had the flu at the time. Seriously had the flu, like, you know. And he came to the door, Patsy. Actually, it wasn't Cork City. It was a thing called Newcastle, west from Limerick. Up in, right, the first division was just after it started off. So Noel, the famous Noel man, he played with Hibs.
Yeah.
And he says, he came to the door anyway, Patsy, will you go? And I had actually I was laid off at the time, so I'd know, this is another thing, no, I'd never played League of Ireland if I had a job, right? That's a fact. So he said, will you play? I said, no, I'm not fit at all. I don't care about that, he says. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And by Christ, did he not care? Run. But up to Newcastle for one season, and like that, no, like the step up was, but all of us was really the fitness. Yeah. Once I got fit, it was, you know. So Noel took over Cork City the following season, and he brought me in, like, you know, and that's where the talks, you know, I think it was 86. They started off in 84, Cork City. So I think it was 85, 86 or something. Caulfield joined the same year, John Caulfield. And yeah, after that then it was...
The rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history. But,
I missed school. I was in the Nagle at the time, so I was first year. I missed school. I was I don't know, for whatever reason, but I know I wasn't sick. There wasn't, you know, but I just ended up missing the day of school. But there was a match on anyway, and I remember the teacher sent one of the boys down to the door, telling me to come up. He goes, "Look, we don't care about you missing the day. Just come up and fall in for the match." I was there going, "But I'm out of school." Like, I said, "Oh." So I ended up going up, play the match. Boys were all going back into school. I was going home because I was out, like, you know. But, that kind of thing. Like, so I suppose there was pressure, like, because I knew why he was calling me up, like, you know. So I was going up. I knew I had to play well, or I had to, you know, whatever. Like, so there was pressure, yeah. But yeah, I suppose naturally there was a kind of I suppose there'd be a knowing, like, fellas would know, like, oh, look, you kind of have a feeling anyway, you know. Fellas be like complimenting you and all the rest of it, like, so you kind of had to feel, look, I must be handy enough, like, you know.
And do you get a marked man? When you're coming up, or like that's Gearoid Morrissey, you know, midfield. Let's say, I know from when we were schoolboys, there was a fella for Everton, Colin Fielding. He was a striker, and our manager used to say, "Whatever you fucking do not give him any space." You know, like where you're coming up against, like, let's say, now I can imagine if you were playing against Timmy, I said, I give Gearoid Morrissey. Those fellas are going to be hard on you.
100%. It was only ever though the Northside clubs are like. Yeah, that was it. Do you know, like it was because Mahon and the North side, like you had to be harder.
There's
you know,
always that rivalry.
always like so. Like it's like I remember we playing New Farm, and I remember like sure we were only 12s, I'd say, and I remember hearing the manager on the side. I remember I was run down the wing like, and I remember there was like two of the boys behind me kind of chased me. He was like roaring, crack him. I was there. That was my first time really going, geez, they're proper out to get you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Don't give me the ball.
Yeah, but like I met fellas growing up like and playing the League of Ireland or whatever, and they'd tell me when they went to Mahon to play down in Mahon, they would have got the same kind of do you know what I mean? It's just the way it was. Like
Mahon were known as a tough club to play against.
And very hostile players to play as well.
A tough club, like you were going down there, you were getting a game off of Mahon, you know, you wasn't going down there for an easy game. It was going to be tough. It was like what they'd call a derby in England, you know. It was going to be a really physical game. You know, so I
think they always Ringman kind of has, that's just, it's in their makeup. They naturally, the boys in the area like just kind of naturally have that. Whereas now, like when I was there, whoever was available would manage the team, do you know? Whereas now everybody has badges and they naturally have that, but they also have the skill set now to actually coach and develop players. Even if it's I suppose worst case scenario, they're developing players for Ringman's senior team. You know what I mean? And then best case, they're developing players to move on to England and Cork City and you know.
There's a lot of success coming out there at the moment.
There is,
players moving on, like.
Yeah, there's a lot of it at the moment, and you know, people see it's like years ago, no one would have, because it costs money to get your coaches through their badges and all the rest of it. Whereas now they'd look at it as a bit of an investment, like they're going, right, we're going to develop the players then eventually move on, you know, and it goes full circle, you know, it pays dividends, like, you know, they end up getting compensation packages from the English clubs and you know, all the rest of it, like.
I remember when we were playing schoolboys with New Farm, around the team that was the best around at the time, I think it was Cove. Stephen Orland was playing for him at the time, and you could see he was head and shoulders above everybody else, you know. Have you ever had that experience in schoolboys? Who was the best teams that you were coming up against, and who's maybe the best players, or did anybody really stand out to you?
Yeah, there would have been a few. Yeah, do you know what? It was a weird one. I remember there was a fella there with Buttervint. It was, and it was random enough, like, you know, like. But I was one of these fellas. I never ever stood back and assessed the situation, or like stood back and like, oh, he's supposed to be this, he's supposed to be a good player. I never cared about any of that. Like, I suppose my dad always, like, whatever it was, could be going out to school in the morning, like whatever it was, he'd be go and get stuck in. So like I always had that mentality, like, of just go and get stuck in. I saw, and like my dad would always be saying when as that high up, like whatever, like he's only two, you know, arms and legs the same as you, like whatever you're doing, like, you know.
The minute you give him credit, you know, the minute you give them the like you lose that kind of.
You do, you and like you almost you put them on a bit of a pedestal or something. You give them give them an edge before you even get into it with them, and then all of a sudden you're in it with them and you're going, hang on a minute, like I'm holding my own here, like, you know, there's nothing special, you know. So I always had that, but back to it. There was a fella in Buttervint, actually don't know his name. We ended up at the end of the team holiday a couple of years ago, and I actually bumped into him out there, and like two of us were going out just chatting about it, like, and I was like, how random it was. Like, he was like, you don't even know me now, do you? I was like, I actually wouldn't believe it, no, but actually know you and your brother. Like, I was like, two of ye stuck out in my head through the whole schoolboys playing or whatever, like, you know. So so that was a random enough one, like. But there was always players, you know, around. You hear the odd fella here, there, he's good, whatever, like, you know. And then you go on to trials for the Kennedy Cup team and all that, and you get an eye for a few fellas. You're saying, all right, he's with him, he's with them. So you know, you'd know, like.
Do you know when you're at the Kennedy Cup? Actually, for people that don't know, will you explain the Kennedy Cup?
Yeah, well, yeah. So like, it's you know, it was the be all and end all when we were growing up. Like, I remember everybody saying to me, "Oh, Kennedy Cup year next year, no, Kennedy Cup year next year," and I was like, you know, so straight away I was building up. Like, I was going, fuck, Kennedy Cup must be serious. Like, but you know, it's a huge tournament. The best players, you know, generally, like, I know one or two might not get picked for whatever reason, or they might slip through the net. Like, so generally the best players are there. Like, I know one or two maybe you always think, oh, he should have been there, and probably should have too. But
players develop later.
Yeah, do you know, I've seen that tenfold. I done a Zoom call there the other day, and I was telling him, like, he was like, what would you say to young fellas? Like, I was like, just stick at it, whatever it is. I goes, no matter what it is, I goes, as long as you're at it, you're sticking at it, stick with it. Because I know players who I would have never said they're going to earn a living out of this. Like, I would have never said it. And like, could be whatever, 5-6 years later, I see them, they're still at it and they're on a living. They're actually after becoming really good players. Whereas in me as a young fella, like, I'd be like, oh no, I wouldn't, he's not really good, like, you know what I mean? But the fact they have the resilience behind the perseverance just to keep going with it and keep at it, that's half it, like, you know what I mean?
And I think there's a certain risk as well, you know, when young players get into the Kennedy Cup, which is around 14, isn't it?
Yeah. It's 14 now, it was 13
and even
then.
in this day and age now, they're playing League of Ireland on the 13s and the 15s. There's an element of I've made it, you know. And then for the young fellas that don't get picked for Cork City and Shamrock Rovers,
I know
at
what
that
you're saying,
age, there's an element of, oh, I'm no good, I'm going to try something else, you know. But there's so much more time to develop.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And I've seen it myself because I followed my nephews would be playing with Cork City underage and Corinthians and Cove Ramblers and stuff like that. But I've seen fellas come and playing with them that were lesser players than them, but are probably doing better today.
Yeah.
And fellas that were better players than them but are doing worse today.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So it's very hard to manage, isn't it?
It is.
If you look at Roy Keane didn't go off to England when he was 18, 19.
Yeah.
He just didn't give up. As you said
Yeah.
there, he probably wasn't picked for some stuff there, like Kennedy Cup teams back then or whatever it may have been.
100%.
But he kept going. He knew his dream was that he wanted to be a professional footballer. Kept going, kept training after training, do you know, all these different things.
Yeah.
And he went on to be probably one of the best players that we ever produced in
He's
this
probably
country.
that's the prime example of it, like,
You know?
isn't it? Like, it's just fella just sticking at it. And like, you talk to him, I know Roy was brilliant, like in the, you know, the Premier League and that when you're watching him, but like, you talk to a lot of fellas and they'd be saying, oh sure, and even like probably his brother was supposed to be better. All these kind of things, you know, like, so he wasn't unbelievable, like, but he just perfected it, like, he stuck at it and he just like you said, but he just kept going and got there, like.
I personally loved his determination, you know, and his energy around the team as a leader, because I would have visualised myself as being something similar. No, not as good as a player, but a leader.
You had that mindset, like.
I just loved, you know, for the team to win.
Yeah.
Do you know, just the passion of it about the football. It wasn't about anything else. It was about just winning and you know, just being there for the rest of the players and pushing them on and you know, instead of throwing them, oh, not all the time, but throwing them a few fucks here and there because they're give them a bit of confidence. You know, it's very important for even the coaches coaching young players today. Watch what they're saying to the players on the fields, you know what I mean? Because if they start shouting and effing and roaring at them, the confidence is just gone. It's gone. And I know this now from my own experience, but if they say, listen, come over, give me a chance, listen, you're doing well, listen, just get it up, step it up a little bit more, just put a little bit more energy. If you're not able today, just let me know, we'll put on somebody else, you know? Things like that, instead of, what the? Do you know, all this kind of shit, it really destroys players.
That's something I noticed out in Corinthians when my nephews are from Hollyhill, but they played schoolboys with Corinthians, which is in Douglas obviously. But something I noticed straight away when they went out there was there's no screaming at the children, and it was all encouragement and play out from the back, and if you make a mistake that's okay, you know, that type of thing, like what Timmy is saying.
That's an old school thing, isn't it?
It is.
Just roaring at them and do you know, I can't Ferguson with the hairdryer treatment type thing, like, that's different. Like, fellas then on the line down the schoolboy team took that as the way to do it. Like, but
with children,
he's dealing with grown fully developed men, and they're, you know, they're professional, and you know,
and they're on 100,000 a week.
Do you know, like, so like, but that's I totally agree with that. I think you know, it's like you've a huge responsibility when you're coaching, like, you know, and you're not just developing the player, like, it's people you're developing, like, so you have them for so many hours a week, whatever if you're the manager, you've them for so many hours, like, the good you can do, you can impact their lives for that few hours a week, you know what I mean, and you can help bring them on level, like, and just in terms of people, you know what I mean, and then the football, if you're developing players too, sure, like, that's great then, you know what I mean.
Did you ever read the book The Secret?
Yeah.
You know about the universe, like, and the experiment, people
willing you to win, like, you know.
Yeah.
The law of
And,
attraction, yeah.
I feel like that as well. I think there's a lot of love and support for me, and I genuinely feel that, and I believe it, and I think it's going to help me to achieve my goal, like, you know.
Definitely, yeah.
So, you know, I kind of more so than for myself, really. What I kind of dream about really is my kids. Like, I like my kids to be able to say, like, you know, I always thought that's always something that really truly inspired me. It was like you know, as I say, I used to get the bus up and down Dublin for years, and the trains and whatnot, and I used to meet loads of women on the train to be chatting to them or whatever, like, you know, and they'd all be saying, like, you know, I was kind of come around to saying, well, my dad was shoemaker, my dad used to be a podcast fella, whatever, you know what I mean? And what I'd like for my kids when they're on the train journey or on the bus, like, in years to come, say, well, my dad was champion of the world, like, you know, so it's something
nice
I'd love for me to say, like, you know.
That's unbelievable. Like.
Yeah.
And looking at you, look so young.
I know, yeah.
So young, like, for what? What age?
I'm 36. I
36,
tell you, lads,
like.
to be sponsorship, be free here. This now, Specsavers.
I know, yeah.
Throw them the show, the
This
podcast.
podcast is brought to you by Specsavers, you know, yeah.
Somebody asked me there during the week, I won't mention who it is in case they don't want me to. This is, what do you put on your face? And I says, I could put on a day and night cream from the body shop, you know. If we were home, my wife was next to me when I was being asked the question on social media, and I just, like, I kind of felt like saying, oh yeah, just, the two of us were sitting in the kitchen in stitches, you know what I mean? Just because somebody noticed the glow on my face because of the cream, you know. But it'd be nice now for the body shop to give it, start giving it for nothing, but...
You look healthy, like, for 60 years of age, like.
Do you know what? I feel probably better now, and I'm 40, than I possibly ever did in my life. Because number one, I would have never known how I felt because I had no awareness about life. But, you know, being away from all these chemicals and alcohol and even my mental health, and I'm not as stressed as I would have been before, constantly in the fight or flight mode, I just feel nice and relaxed and calm, you know, and I still have to deal with my daily kind of bits and pieces, you know. Some stuff comes up for me and I still have to deal with it, but you know what, in general I really have a good life, and it's not because I have loads of money or anything like that. It's because I really feel good in myself, you know, and I got a lot of gratitude for things. At the moment now I'm just starting my own business. I was at one stage, and I wasn't. I was going with a construction firm. Now I'm back doing it again, you know. And people have been very, very good to me of late, you know, and helping me out. You know, there's like James there from McCarthy Insurance. Like, he helped me out with a construction insurance code, and McCarthy Insurance looked after me, and just other people like have just phoned me up and saying to me, like, we've a job here. You might be interested in doing that, you know. And I want to start employing people like ourselves, like me and James are coming from...
It's the law of attraction, what Spike was on about, like, because you're so well in yourself, you're attracting all the people want to help you out because they say, no, wait, Timmy's doing something good there for the community, Timmy's a good guy, we're going to help him out. Spike comes across really well, he's a family man, he engages with his fans, he's grounded. I wish him the best of luck, you know. It's like, people don't like fucking arrogant people. No.
That's what it's about. It's just about Spike. Is just about, listen, for years we were fucking a nuisance to our community. We were causing trouble or involved in criminality or getting stoned around the place, but now we're trying to do what we can for anybody that needs it and asks for a bit of help in any way we can, you know.
Of course, yeah.
You're both looking very well as well, like, you know, I must say that now, you know.
Me a small bit better.
That's for me,
I'm actually back lifting weights for the last few weeks. I'm trying to plan.
Yeah, you look strong. You still lose the belly.
It's actually, you know what? It's actually so hard to lose the belly. It's fucking stubborn. No, if you're not like dedicated, I find it's around my trunk.
Do you know the key is, right? When you are like that, you're on the healthy living buzz and whatever, and you're saying, why isn't the belly? When you start thinking like that, just ignore it, keep going. Shortly after that, the belly starts to shrink.
Do you know when I get near the goal, I abandon it.
Yeah. But the key is to keep going.
Do
you know, it's a pattern that you probably have in your life.
Make the slip doesn't have to be a catastrophic slip. It can be a day and then get back on the saddle.
Exactly.
What way is your diet?
Yeah, fairly good there. I'm actually with a crowd called Gym Nutrition there in Dublin. They give me all my meals, like, but they have them for last good few fights, you know, top notch food, like, very, very good, like, you know, so that helps a lot.
Do you know when you're doing a lot of training, are you consuming a lot of calories?
I kind of have to cut down, like, to be honest, because it's just making weight, like.
Yeah,
you know,
is that a hard aspect to your career?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You cook your own food and all, Spike, don't you?
I do all the time, yeah. I'm always cooking. I was cooking there now, like, I had lovely steak and onions and mushrooms, peppers, and
that's the job.
You know, treating myself with no cheat meal kind of from the Gym Nutrition one.
But I
had
ham. Yeah, I was off meat for about 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm only recently on it for the last 4 weeks, I'd say, James. And my wife made a boiled dinner today.
Nice.
Cabbage and
lovely.
turnip. For anyone that lives in abroad, remember the old turnip and cabbage and
lovely.
And the ham. It's
hard to beat.
You can't. I missed all that.
Yeah, you would.
Know? But it's since I started eating meat again, I'm after losing the weight.
Yeah, interesting.
Because there's more protein. You see, I was eating
less carbs.
Yeah, less carbs.
I was eating all these vegetarian foods, vegetarian sausages, burgers, and different things like that. There was a lot of carbs in them, but I was eating them because I thought, should I not eating this? No, I'll eat this. But there was no protein in them, just a load of carbs. But now I'm back and eating meat. But I'm not overdoing it either, you know. I'm still eating very, very healthy. And I'm doing a bit of exercise.
You look at it.
Yeah, so overall healthy today.
Yeah. But just to bring it back to your boxing, can I ask you about your power? You've probably the hardest punch I've seen. You know, it's like, are you completely confident that going in against? I suppose if I had that right hand, I'd be very confident that no matter who I'm fighting, I can end the fight at any moment. Do you always?
Yeah, I guess I can. Yeah, I can do it. Actually, in fact, I'm right-handed, but I've ended more fights with my left hand. I punch it both very hard. A very hard puncher, right? Like, which is a very good thing. And my coach always said to me, like, you could be 11 rounds down. You could be outpointed for the 11 rounds, but you might knock them out in 12. With the kind of power you have, you always have a chance.
And is that a natural power you have?
I was born with it, but obviously I developed it, and I've been training hard all my life and eating fairly well. Like, I suppose, like, that enhances the power. Like,
you improve it as well, don't you?
Yeah, improve technique as well, and practice over the years. And actually, I think the whole of 2020, like, I got a punch bag. It took a couple of months for it to arrive, actually, with the whole bloody COVID situation. But I had no punch bag for a while. But maybe that was a blessing in disguise too. I had 2 bursts of air drums actually in my last fight, so it took me a while to recover from that. And I enjoyed the break. You know, it was great. I tell you, 2020 was probably the best year of my life, even though I'd only done one fight. Like, I loved it. Like, I never got to spend so much time all my life with my kids. Like, geez, my missus now works 4 days a week in the chemist. Like, but I was at home every day with the kids. Like, I loved it.
Yeah, that's
brilliant. Like, I was there.
You get to know them too, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, you would. I'd be very close to them, like, but you know, just the whole time we were baking and we had lots of fun, like. Yeah. You know,
that sounds beautiful.
I know. No, it's great. Right. You know, and you know, I've no kids, right? But I've 2 dogs, and
2 mad dogs.
If we went back to normal in the morning, my dogs wouldn't know what to do, like, because they're so used to us being at home, you know.
Yeah.
And for them to go back out the back 9 to 5, like, Jesus Christ. But there's good aspects to being at home, and there's positive aspects to the lockdown. But then the negative, obviously, is the gyms, especially, you know, not having that outlet. But you do, because you're an elite athlete.
Yeah, we're an elite athlete, so I have to go to I can go to Dublin, like, to train my boxing gym, like, Pascal's gym.
When you're training for a fight, do you stay in Dublin too?
I do, yeah.
Up in Pascal's gaff?
No, I stay in a hotel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some hotels open for business.
There's loads of them open. I actually... I stayed in City West there for about 8-9 years. I'm friends with a lot of staff there, like, but they're actually closed down now, kind of, as such, because the government took them over for the COVID. So I'm staying out in the Carlton Hotel there now in Lanchestown. It's great. They're very nice there as well, and they're leaving me open. They open the gym privately for me, the whole gym. So I have the whole gym to myself. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah. For the general public, it's not open or whatever. But they gave me. They said I could because of the fight. Like,
that's the job.
Up, that's great. Because I need to train 2 or 3 times a day. Like,
you know, if you had a magic wand and you 3 fights left, who would your 3 opponents be?
Jeez, well, whoever's world champion at light middleweight anyway. I'd like a rematch with Lemieux as well before I retire. I believe that I'd beat him. You know, I believe that it was a. I'm not going to go so far as to say it was a fluke punch. Like, it kind of was, but like he's been throwing those great punches for years, and I mean, he threw it, he landed it. He kind of wasn't even looking. Actually, if you see the shot, like he was kind of looking this way, and I hit him. And but I'd like to fight him again. I think I'd beat him. Like for example, McGregor's last fight, he fought that guy Poirier. You know, he beat him convincingly in the first fight, pretty quickly. You know, but he got beaten in the rematch, and I believe it'll be the same between me and Lemieux. And I was actually thinking about that whole scenario whilst Poirier was preparing for the McGregor fight. I was thinking, like, what's in his head now? Like, you know, how is he feeling about it over what happened in the first fight? And I thought to myself, like, I'd be delighted to fight Lemieux again. I'd have no question, no qualms about it. Like, I believe I'd beat him. Yeah. I think I'd actually destroy him.
Yeah, I think you would too.
Yeah. What's the possibility of a fight like that?
Well, I'm going to concentrate first. Like, I want to become, first and foremost, I want to become world champion. So my weight division now is light middleweight. Like Lemieux has gone up to super middleweight. He struggles to even make that, but I'd go up the weight, but like to meet him again. Just lift a bit more weights and just be that weight, like, rather than the time I fought him. I had the longest training camp in my career, about 13 weeks, and I was walking around on weight at middleweight, but I'm too small for middleweight anyway, really. But I done a bit too much cardio, and I was bang on middleweight, like, you know, I was walking around literally. When I weighed in, I actually getting into the ring that night, I was 161 pounds, which is only a pound over the weight division. Like most, Lemieux was 179 pounds, 18 pounds heavier than me in the night, like.
You're at a disadvantage straight away when you're going up a weight. Like.
Yeah, Roy Jones is doing the commentary on the fight. He said it's a cruiserweight against a middleweight. Like he's like 3 weight divisions above me, like in the ring. Yeah, you know.
Who's the elite at your weight class at the moment?
One of the Charlo brothers are twins there from New York. I think I heard he's going to move up to middleweight soon. So I'm not sure. Like.
Yeah. That's who you'd have your eye on. Would you have to have? Do you need to pick up 1 or 2 wins in the meantime to put yourself back in contention?
I do, yeah, and I will.
Yeah. When's have you anything lined up?
Yeah, end of April. I think I'm gonna have a fight in Unk soon. You know, that's what we're kind of talking about at the moment. You know, I'm going to Belgium there for on the 20th of March, and I think I'm going to return there to the same place and fight myself at the end of April, as far as I know. Like, but it hasn't been announced yet, and I think that's where my coach is negotiating at the moment. Like.
They don't give him much time between announcing it and the fight actually happening.
Yeah, but I've been in training camp there the last 3 weeks. Yeah. I'm helping Craig O'Brien. I'm sparring with Craig. He's fighting on the 20th of March, so I'm sparring him for his preparation. And when he's finished his fight, providing all goes well for him, he's going to come back and help me.
Yeah.